If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Some places are not on any map. You can sail the 7 seas looking for them, but you will never find them. Unless, that is, they want to be found. There is an island like this, a place whispered about by sailors in the dead of night. They call it the Isle of Faces. It is a lonely rock in a forgotten corner of the ocean, a place where the waves crash against cliffs as tall as skyscrapers. But these are no ordinary cliffs. Carved into the stone are faces. Giant faces, each one hundreds of feet high, staring out at the empty water. Their eyes are wide and hollow. Their mouths are open as if they're screaming, but no sound ever comes out. They are older than anything known to man, and they are waiting. The air around the Isle of Faces is strange. It feels heavy, thick, like you are breathing in a fog and fear. The water turns a dark, inky black the closer you get. Sailors say that compasses spin wildly near the island, that modern GPS systems flicker and die. It is a place that technology has abandoned, a place where only old fears are real. The faces themselves seem to watch you as you approach. Their stone expressions are fixed, but sailors swear they can feel the weight of their gaze. It is a cold, ancient stare that seems to dig into your soul, to find every secret you have ever kept. It is a look that tells you one thing very clearly: you are not welcome here. You should turn back now. No one knows who carved them. How could they have? The cliffs are sheer, impossible to climb. The rock is harder than granite. What kind of tools could have shaped these monstrous portraits? The faces are not beautiful. They are twisted in agony, in terror, in a silent, unending shriek. Each one is different, a unique mask of despair. Some look angry, their stone brows furrowed in a permanent scowl. Others look surprised, their eyes wide as if they have just seen a ghost. And some just look sad, with stone tears forever frozen on their colossal cheeks. They are a gallery of nightmares, etched into the very bones of the earth. The most terrifying thing about the island is the silence. You would expect birds, the sound of wind whistling through rock, but there is nothing. It is a dead quiet, a silence so deep it rings in your ears. The only sound is the slow, rhythmic crash of the waves against the base of the cliffs. It sounds like a giant, sleeping heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. It is the sound of something ancient, terrible, dreaming in the deep. And you get the feeling, the cold, prickling feeling that runs up your spine, that you should not be the one to wake it up, ever. The first known sighting was in 1888. A whaling ship, the Sea Serpent, was blown far off course by a hurricane that lasted for weeks. When the storm finally broke, the crew found themselves in an unknown part of the ocean, and there it was, the island. The ship's captain, a man named Alistair Finch, wrote about it in his logbook. He described the cliffs and the horrifying faces staring down at his ship. He wrote that his men were terrified. They begged him to sail away immediately. They said the faces were a curse, an omen of death that they could not escape. They felt the eyes following them, even when they were below deck, trying to hide from the sight. Captain Finch was a man of science, not superstition. He ordered a small boat to be lowered to get a closer look. He wanted to sketch the faces, to document their size and detail. But as his men rowed toward the shore, a strange fog rolled in. It was thick and cold, swallowing the small boat in seconds. The men on the Sea Serpent could hear their crewmates shouting, but the sounds were distorted, strange. Then there was only silence. An hour later, the fog lifted. The small boat was right where it had been. But the men inside were different. They could not remember the last hour. Their minds were a total blank. They only knew one thing: a deep, chilling fear that made their hands tremble. When the Sea Serpent finally returned to port months later, No one believed Captain Finch's story. His logbook, filled with detailed sketches of the giant faces, was called a work of fiction. Experts looked at his drawings and laughed. They said it was impossible. No ancient civilization had the tools or the ability to create such monuments. They called him a liar, a madman who had spent too long at sea. Finch tried to convince them, showing them the blank, haunted looks in the eyes of the men who had rowed toward the island. But it was no use. The world dismissed the Isle of Faces as a sailor's tall tale, a ghost story to tell on long, dark nights. Captain Finch died a broken man, his reputation destroyed. His logbook was hidden away in a dusty archive, forgotten. For nearly a century, the Isle of Faces disappeared from history. It became a myth, a whisper. Other ships may have seen it, lost in storms or fog, but their stories were never told. Or perhaps they never returned to tell them. The island and its screaming stone guardians slipped back into the shadows of the unknown. The faces continued their silent vigil, their existence denied by a world that refused to see what was right in front of it. They waited in the silence, their stone eyes staring out at the empty sea, patient as only stone can be. In 2018, a well-funded expedition set out to find the truth. Led by a famous explorer named Dr. Aris Thorne, the team used Captain Finch's old logbook and advanced satellite imaging to hunt for the lost island. They called their mission Project Nightmare. After months of searching, they found it. A blip on their screens, an anomaly the maps said shouldn't exist. As their research vessel, the Wanderer, approached, the same strange phenomena Finch had described began to happen. Their high-tech equipment started to fail. The digital clocks on the ship's bridge began to run backward, then forward. Then they just went blank. Time itself seemed to be breaking apart. The crew felt it too. They would lose moments, blinking and finding themselves in a different part of the ship with no memory of how they got there. A conversation would start, only to be forgotten halfway through a sentence. They felt a constant sense of confusion, as if their own minds were slowly unraveling. Dr. Thorne noted in his journal that the island seemed to be protected by a field of temporal distortion. It wasn't just keeping people away, it was actively erasing their experience of being there. The closer they got, the worse it became. The faces on the cliffs seemed to mock them, their silent screams a welcome to a place where reality had given up. Despite the dangers, a small team took a drone to the cliff face. The footage they captured was breathtaking and terrifying. The drone flew close to one of the giant eyes, an abyss of carved stone that was big enough to swallow a helicopter. The detail was incredible. The marks on the rock were not made by any known tool. They were smooth, almost melted into the stone. But as the drone flew, its camera feed began to stutter and warp. The image of the face twisted and distorted. For a split second, just before the drone signal died completely, the face on the screen seemed to change. Its screaming mouth appeared to close. Its eyes seemed to blink. The team on the Wanderer was deeply shaken. They had proof, but they were also losing their minds. Crew members became paranoid and hostile. One man, a geologist, was found staring at a wall, unable to speak, his memory of the past week completely gone. He had a single fresh scratch on his arm, but couldn't remember how he got it. Dr. Thorne knew they had to leave. They had seen enough. But leaving was not so simple. The island did not want to let them go. It held on to them, pulling at their sanity, trying to add them to its collection of lost souls and forgotten stories. The faces watched them retreat, their expressions of agony seeming almost triumphant. For the people who live on the closest inhabited islands, hundreds of miles away, the Isle of Faces is not a myth. It is a terrible truth. a story passed down through generations. They do not call it the Isle of Faces. They call it the prison of the old gods, or the place where the sky weeps. Their legends say that the faces do not belong to gods, but to something that was defeated by them. They are the faces of ancient evil beings who were trapped in the rock at the dawn of time. The cliffs are their eternal prison, and their screaming faces are a reminder of their terrible power and their eternal punishment. The elders tell stories to the children to keep them safe. They say that the island sometimes creates a phantom fog that reaches out to other shores. If you are caught in this fog, you will lose your way, not just in the world, but in your own mind. They speak of fishermen who sailed too close and came back different. They returned with empty eyes and quiet voices, their memories stolen by the island. They would sit for hours, staring out at the sea, sometimes whispering about the stone giants who sing a song of silence. These men were never the same again, forever haunted by a place they could no longer remember. One legend is particularly chilling. It says that the faces are not just a prison, but also a lock. Each giant face is a seal, holding back a terrible power that is sleeping within the island. The story goes that if the faces were ever to be destroyed, or if they were to change, the lock would be broken. Whatever is trapped inside would be set free to devour the world. For this reason, the islanders have a sacred duty. They watch the horizon. They look for signs, for strange fogs, for ships that sail in that direction and do not return. They are the unofficial guardians of a secret the world doesn't even know exists. They also believe the faces can change. Not often, and not by much. But they say that every few generations an elder will notice that one of the faces looks different. A mouth that was open is now slightly closed. An eye that was wide with terror now looks angry. These changes, they say, happen when the island is taken something. When a ship disappears or when a soul is lost to its shores, the faces feed on that energy. The island grows stronger and the prison's inside stir beneath. It is a terrifying thought that the faces are not just stone, but are somehow alive, changing with each new victim they claim. Theories about the faces are as wild and dark as the island itself. Some people, like Dr. Thorne, believe they are a warning system left by an incredibly advanced, ancient civilization. Not a warning about something on the island, but a warning from the island. Perhaps the faces are a beacon, broadcasting a silent message across time and space. Stay away. What happened to us will happen to you. The temporal distortions, the memory loss. It is all part of a defense mechanism designed to protect the universe from a place that should not be. A place where the laws of nature are broken. Another theory is that the faces are not carved into the cliff, but are the cliff itself. That these are the actual petrified faces of colossal beings. Creatures so immense that their bodies form the very foundation of the island. What could turn such beings to stone? And are they truly dead? Or are they merely sleeping? This idea suggests the island is not a rock, but a graveyard. Or worse, a nursery. The thought that these beings might one day awaken, their stone bodies cracking and rising from the sea, is a nightmare of epic proportions. The screams on their faces might not be from past pain, but from the pain of their current stony sleep. But the final, most terrifying story is the one that is happening right now. Last year, a private military-funded team went to the Isle of Faces. They were not explorers, they were soldiers. Their mission was secret. They were heavily armed and had technology designed to resist the island's strange effects. They were going to unlock its secrets by force, if necessary. They sent one message back from the island's shore. It was a single, garbled word. It's And then, static. Total silence. The team, their vessel, everything vanished without a trace. They were gone. After the team disappeared, a satellite owned by a private corporation passed over the island by chance. It took a high-resolution photograph of the cliffs. Dr. Thorne, who was consulted on the image, felt a cold dread creep over him when he saw it. He compared it to the photos his own expedition had taken years before. They were almost identical. But there was one small, impossible change. On the old photo, there were 6 giant faces carved into the rock. In the new one, there were 7. The newest face was the freshest. Its expression of pure, silent terror, the most vivid of them all. And it was staring right at the sky, as if it knew it was being watched. The prison had a new guard,